Hi gang, welcome back to the Omni Latina. Right now we are preparing for a hurricane. The name is Irma. Who names these things? Anyway, this comes right after a really devastating hurricane to Texas, Harvey. So anyway, watching the news, they claim this one could be worse. 200-mile-an-hour winds off the shores of our country and heading straight for Miami and working its way up the coast. I really feel sorry for those poor people in the Bahamas because right now it has a tremendous speed, and once it hits land it's supposed to slow down. But anyway, I don't know. Half the time the media and the weather people are wrong about whether or not it's going to be sunny or rainy. I mean, seriously, I can't even plan a trip around here because it's like, oh, it's going to be sunny and then it rains, or it's going to be rainy and it's sunny. So you guys can't even freaking predict the weather accurately. So hurricane predictions, it's like really you're going with the total unknown. These things can take sudden turns. They can build up momentum. You never know. So never been through a really terrible hurricane before, so really don't know what to expect, whether you want to leave your house and your property behind, or things are going to get destroyed if it's going to be at that cat. So it's probably better not to sit back and watch everything that you've worked so hard for get completely destroyed. So I do get it why people stay. At the same time, you're wondering, you know, when there's millions of freaking people waiting at the last minute like yourself, you know, where the hell am I going to go? You know, people tend to fill up in hotels in neighboring states, and, you know, those places may get hit too, because we don't really know where it's going. So what are you escaping from? I mean, we don't know what path this thing is going to take. So on that note, you know, do you leave your property and then risk the fact that, you know, if something does happen, you won't be able to get back in and things get even destroyed worse? Or do you stay and get stuck and stranded out here in the middle of a mess? So anyway, you watch other people, and it's easy to make judgment calls on stuff that you know nothing about. But until you're in this situation yourself, there's lots of you know, variables. A lot of people watch, and the media doesn't really get it right. The people that can say, you know, sometimes they overdo things. Like I've had hurricane warnings before, and they go, oh, it's going to be devastating, and then it's like barely a sneeze. So anyway, with that said, you know, we don't know. And so we're dealing with the unknown. And of course, you know, there's the whole thing that if you don't do enough, and it is a big hurricane, you know, the fact that you didn't warn people, you have to deal with that as well. So there's a liability there as well. So we had storms in Oregon, really big storms. We had things like generators when we lived out in the rural country area, and that kind of kept, you know, some power going to your house when the power would go out. Common things that people do, hurricane shutters. Gosh, if you live in a place, you think, if builders know that you live in a place where hurricanes are the possibility, you think that maybe they would do some building codes that were more updated. And I think that Mr. Rick Scott needs to mandate, you know, if people live in a high area zone, that you use a certain type of window and you use certain types of codes. Yes, it may be a little more expensive, but at the same time, you know, having some life being taken because you want to be cheap is unacceptable, especially when you're a big developer building offices or even a massive amount of condominiums. So you want to I think about redoing some of the codes there, you know, to make things a little bit safer, because the way things were built back in the day, sometimes I think we're even better than what they're building now. I mean, there was a time period where, you know, in Florida, especially after some bad storms and stuff like that, when we were rebuilding, we were getting Chinese dry rot. So we were getting our you know, not Chinese dry, Chinese drywall, Chinese drywall. Yeah. But it was like, it ended up being Chinese dry rot. No, I'm kidding. But you know what? Why would we fucking get anything from China? I mean, seriously. I mean, we find out that this thing caused mold and harm to people and made, you know, some of these places just worthless. So it was unfortunate for people. You know, a lot of people do things on the cheap that should be outlawed. You know, we have a lot of cheap builders that shouldn't be building. And Rick Scott, it's up to you as the leader to kind of protect the consumers here. So why put single pane windows that are, you know, barely able to do the job when, you know, we need to start beefing up the windows around here. And I mean, you know, the serious thing about a hurricane is not just the flood damage, but it's the broken glass that goes into the homes of the people that are you know, waiting out the hurricanes. So with that said, you know, pray for Florida. Pray for wherever this Irma decides to go, and you guys have a blessed day. Bye.